Hi Aquarius, welcome to your December 2016 General Tarotscope. It's Raina here. So I'm trying to think of some of the transits before I lay out the cards that I can tell you about. And the first thing is to talk about the concentration of energy in the month of December for you. So you have a lot of 12th house activity, which is just kind of more mystical than practical, and deeply psychological. And then you have the 11th house, which is your natural house and is more idealistic and deals with your goals, your dreams, and you're actually going to have the sun there for the first 3 weeks until the sun goes into Capricorn, and then that's your 12th house. You're going to have Mercury in the 12th house as the month begins. For Aquarians, to have planets in the 12th house is a little bit perplexing because you prefer logic. You prefer science over the woo of the 12th house. And yes, I am generalizing. I'm bracing myself for somebody who'll tell me that they are Reiki masters, and I don't know what I'm talking about, because I say these things because Aquarius is the sign of a scientist. So that's just something that is a part of your makeup, but also Aquarians can be astrologers. That's also a sign associated with astrology and psychic insight. So I definitely know that some of you may be deeply involved in these kinds of pursuits. But because you're an air sign, I think you try to make sense of things on an intellectual level. And there is a lot of illogical stuff that the 12th house generates. When you have a dream, think about the 12th house is also the house of dreams, and because that's a form of prophecy or just connection with source energy, our dream time. So think about all the crazy dreams you have that seem totally illogical, and you try to explain them to somebody and they sound like gibberish. So that is the kind of thing I'm talking about, highly symbolic, not linear. And yet it is part of our consciousness, at a very deep level. And the 12th house can be kind of buried issues or maybe past life issues. So you have Mercury retrograding in this house. Even direct, Mercury in the 12th house can sometimes give free-floating anxiety in the form of having memories, having these thoughts that are connected to the past, and not knowing, how they got there. And so meditation is always a great thing to do, because you are going to have, what I was going to say is that Venus is actually going to be in this house for the first week of the month, and that could even lead to encounters with people from a past life, romantic encounters. And I should say that Venus, if you're watching at the end of November, Venus will have already gone into that house, and in that 12th house in Capricorn. And so you may have some kind of a meeting with somebody and you feel like, wow, I've known them forever, and really you have. You're going to have a new moon in this 12th house on the 29th of the month. So it's like this, the universe wants you to start something new, to investigate something involving the spiritual side of life, the metaphysical side. And that will be helpful for you, as an air sign, so that you're not always thinking, so that you're allowing yourself time to kind of just be, where you're not always analyzing or discriminating. I'm reading a book right now called The Presence Process, and they were talking about how our mind tends to generate these constant judgments and all these things, and this is kind of like not getting us anywhere. So that's why I mention this. It's not to be anti-intellectual or to be anti-thought, but to make thoughts your friend by, you being in control of them so that they can do your bidding. You also are going to have a Mars in your sign until the 19th, when it goes into the second house of earned income. So when it's in your sign, you're going to start feeling more energetic. You're going to start being more active. You may be more aggressive. You may be very pushy, so watch out for that. In the second house, after the 19th, it's going to be giving you ambition and stamina to earn more money. And so I said that, Mercury's retrograding in the 12th house. So, think about things that, need to kind of come out into the open that maybe you haven't wanted to think about. And maybe that's a time to kind of purify yourself of past repressed memories that, affect you on a very subtle level. You're going to have a full moon in your 5th house. That's, to me, a very romantic placement for a full moon on the 13th of December in Gemini, and that could, who knows, maybe you have a friendship blossom into something more, into a romance. It could be the end of a creative project for some of you, or the inception of a creative project. It's a very fertile time, so the 5th house can be recreational sex, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so now here is the reading. And this is, oh wow, I should have said this because I was going to say, about your thoughts. I was going to say the Four of Swords is kind of like, resting your thoughts. The swords relate to thoughts and to the air signs, but the Four of Swords is about, rejuvenation and kind of being quiet and stuff and being alone. And I should have said that because then you would have thought I was so cool. Okay. The overall card is that Four of Swords, and this relates to recuperation. When I see this card, sometimes I think that somebody has been through something that was very stressful, actually, and that they need that kind of recharging of the batteries. But it could be just a hectic time, social time, and now you need to reflect. When I look at the past position, there is the Ten of Pentacles. This could relate to inheritance matters. Maybe you were involved in something like that, and that took a lot out of you. But it could be just family money. It could be your own career is really doing well. Maybe you're taking a rest. Maybe you're going to a spa or something. Although the Four of Swords isn't necessarily some kind of a luxury thing. It's just kind of a retreat from your normal life. So maybe you have had a really great run of things, a success in something, but it took a lot out of you. In terms of relationships, you may have been with an earth sign person. If you were, it may have not been a good fit for you, and maybe now you're kind of getting away from that. So I see you with more solitude. So I would say it might have been a breakup, and that would have been with a Taurus or Virgo or Capricorn, or if they're not that, if their sun sign isn't that, then they have a lot of earth in their chart. And it's funny because the card that comes in, the current energy is connected to Taurus, the Hierophant. So I don't know if that means anything to anybody. The The Hierophant, it's funny because the Hierophant is about conservative values. It can be about spiritual values, actually. The spiritual over the material, but it can be about just the structures in life. So the ten of Pentacles can be family, and so there may have been some situation involving either a family business or and it can go either way, because the Hierophant can refer to conformity, and yet Aquarius is totally non-conformist sign. Now, yes, it's interesting because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, where that non-conformity comes from, but also Saturn, and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, so that tends to be more traditional. And of course, there are conservative Aquarians like Sarah Palin. Ronald Reagan was an Aquarius. Glenn Beck, the conservative commentator. There are some. Dan Quayle, former vice president, Aquarian. But even with those people, you will always notice that there's a quirky kind of a quality with them. There's always something that's a little bit different. An outlier. They're outliers anyway, even within their own particular group. So there may be an issue with, if you have a family business and you're being pressured and you don't want to, that may, you feel like you have to conform, you have to fit into this family structure. And maybe you don't want to, although the Hierophant is upright, so it doesn't seem like, it may be that you make that choice. Let me just keep going. The higher message is the Page of Cups. This is a card of being innocent, and the shadow side is naive, being creative, and being very intuitive. And it's right under the Four of Swords, so there's like a spiritual connection. That, just like I talked about the 12th house. The cards on the first row, the left and the right, are kind of like worldly cards to me. The Ten of Pentacles, any Pentacles card is earth-related issues. So it's worldly to me. And on the right, the Hierophant card is about the spiritual side of life. Sometimes it can be about conforming, getting married and not living together. But I think it's kind of like, maybe it's a war within yourself. Maybe, maybe some of you want to do something that is more artistic, and that's represented by the Page of Cups. But you feel like you've been making so much money doing whatever it is that you're doing in the past. It could be that you that took too much out of you, and so you had to quit. I think it would be more quitting than losing your job necessarily. But you may be thinking along those same lines again, and yet the higher messages know this. Your calling is something else, and so you have to honor that. It could involve a water sign individual. If it's a relationship issue, something could be more appropriate with a water sign individual. So that would be a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. What crosses you is the Moon card. Now, this is connected to Cancer. I always connected it to Pisces, though, but it is connected to Cancer. And so in the reverse position, it could be that there is some deception happening. Maybe you don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe the Page of Cups, I do connect the Page of Cups to Pisces. You know, there's, I don't know if you've seen this, the fish, but I don't think it's actually officially. And I do think of Pisces sometimes as very naive and gullible, you know. So this person, and you know, it's also that it could have to do with a child, that there's a child involved. Sometimes pages are children, and they must be taken into consideration for whatever it is that's going on. But the moon card in a challenge position, you know, you may have writer's block or some kind of creative block that's preventing you from doing this type of creative work. I mean, it could be something like that, but it could be just not listening to your intuition, and maybe there's something that is being kept from you, and yet if you were only, you know, connecting the dots, you'd probably be able to see it very easily. So maybe somebody is being dishonest with you in some way. The advice is the Knight of Wands. If this is you, it's just suggesting that you take a chance on something. It might have to do with your, you know, the decision that you make in the direction you're going in, and just not, you know, be too concerned with the outcome. And but it might have to do with a fire sign. So that would be an Aries, Leo, or a Sagittarius person. But you have to have that kind of bravery to be able to do it. And the outcome is the Queen of Swords. And this is a card of the perfect combination of the feminine principle of intuition and the intellect. And that would be like an Aquarius person really tapping into their creativity, especially. And also using your intuition. So I'm going to leave it there. My memory card is almost full. If you'd like a personal reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great December, Aquarius.